Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Sean taking his job very seriously.
The reason we're laughing is Sean's production today. I was like doing a really, really serious, like, on in 15, 5, 4. It was great. Very professional. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, as well. Thank you, everyone. Our production team of hundreds, actually. Laura, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Are you excited for PMQs?
Always excited for PMQs.
What would you be asking today if you were... could turn your laser-focused insight on Keir Starmer?
Oh, good question. I mean, I guess it's just got to be cost of living, hasn't it? Because that's what feels like it's underlying everything in UK politics right now, and discontent.
It feels like you prepped that as a default answer to anything. Like, that's such a ubiquitous answer.
Okay, what would you ask?
Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew.
Like, would you support a bill to... Would the government support a bill to remove his princely titles?
Yeah, I guess. But, like, is that not... When did this all come out originally? Because did it not come out under the Conservatives?
What do you mean?
Like,
the whole thing?
Emily Maitlis interview.
Oh, yeah, that would have been the Conservatives.
Because then you can just throw it right back to them when you didn't do anything.
Oh, but I'm not saying you're...
Oh,
you're
no,
you're not Kenny Badenoch. Sorry, you're you.
Oh, in this... Okay.
Yeah.
In this situation,
It's interesting.
I'm not Kenny Badenoch, okay.
I think it's quite interesting that you went, well, I must be Kevin Badenoch in this scenario.
Why else would I be getting to speak to Keir Starmer?
Not as the MP for mid
Yeah, I think...
Fife or something. The Laura Beveridge party. Did you see, this is of interest to just you and I, Ash Regan's quit Alba?
No, I didn't.
Isn't that sick?
Is she joining to join...
Just she going to be an independent MSP?
I wonder what her issue with Alpha was.
I think because she lost the leadership election and was like, fuck off.
The 3 members didn't vote for her.
Their conference this weekend.
You going?
I'd love to.
Paid member.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting.
Interestingly, maybe this is my fault for not being as knowledgeable of Welsh politics as I should be. Discovering that there is like a ALPA equivalent in Wales. Like they're not as far. Like obviously ALPA is maybe right rather than centre right, but there's a centre right independence party. In Wales. Yeah, and I bumped into the candidate.
That's interesting.
I was
what
like,
are they called?
Oh, it's the Welsh word for Wales. I'm afraid to pronounce it.
Cymru?
I think, no. Oh, no.
Is that not the Welsh word
Sorry,
for
they're
Wales?
called Gwald.
Gwald. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Leave a comment.
Welsh listeners.
Yeah.
Irate. Of course, we would know all those words mean in Gaelic.
Yeah.
Of course, we are experts, fluent in that. Scottish Gaelic, not Irish, of course. What else have you been working on this week? What can they expect?
You can expect a full report from Caerphilly about the by-election, but also I felt, maybe you felt this too, it was quite like microcosmic of bigger,
for sure.
larger
yeah.
British political stories, like the absolute collapse of Labour in former Labour heartlands, how immigration seems to be just dominating everything, even though the Senedd don't have any control over immigration policy. So it felt like there was lots of bigger stories playing out.
There's also that part of Wales has such a low percentage of immigration. Yeah. As well.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like 2.9% in the last census, which the Reform candidate told us he didn't believe the census data.
He doesn't believe in the census?
No.
What?
Doesn't believe census data.
Did you see
Because he said they're not asking illegals, are they?
Fuck. They're not asking illegals. There's millions of them. They wouldn't have enough time. Did you see the thing that in the Scottish census, they think there was a massive jump between the last one and the most recent one, where Sean knows what this is. But they were like, oh my god, the Roma community has absolutely like exploded. Why the hell is that? And I think it's because Italian people were taking Roma because they were from Rome. Isn't that insane?
You're like, how nice they've been in Italian for me.
Ethnicity must have been home city in English. Amazing.
But also, like, Scottish Italians aren't recent immigrants. They're like...
No. I think it's like people who were born in Italy and have moved to Scotland.
Okay.
I don't think it's like a cross community. I don't think it's like... Granny came over the 1930s. I think they're fine. I think they understand what it means.
Like, there was enough of them doing it to like skew the census data.
I think so.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely bizarre. What Scottish questions at the moment? What would you be asking if you were Kemi Badenoch? What would you be asking?
Sorry. What would I be asking John Swinney?
No, Dan Alexander. Douglas Alexander. Douglas
Alexander.
Yeah. Dan Alexander's the Lib Dem guy.
So if I was a Labour MP asking...
No, you're Kemi Badenoch. Because you can't break out of the constraints of that. What a sick, twisted mind you must have.
Stephen Gethins speaking. My former MP.
Yeah, so imagine you're him. You'd obviously ask about the cost of living.
Yes.
Because of your pre-prepared answer. You'd have submitted it beforehand. Did you see the thing? Someone snapped someone going to Downing Street in like a Polly Pocket with the questions.
Yeah.
Transparent.
It was interesting because it was a Lib Dem, right, that had submitted their question, and they're meant to be an opposition party. But then I was like reading about it, and apparently it's number 10 say that they ask every MP that's got a question, like, do you want to submit it in advance? And it's up to the MP or not if they do. The benefit of submitting it in advance is that you'll get like a better answer. So if you're going to ask about the hospital in your constituency, maybe you would like the Prime Minister to know that that's what you're going to ask about. So it wasn't, I don't think it was quite as like scandalous or like sinister as people were like insinuating.
And if you want Prime Minister questions to be like constructive in any way as opposed to just oppositional.
Yeah. Or it says, well, thank you for raising that, I'll look into it.
Yeah, oh fuck, what? That hospital's collapsed.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Like, I'm sure the Lib Dems aren't submitting those questions that are like, you know, I agree with the Prime Minister. Does he agree with me that I agree with him? Yeah.
Isn't it great that the sky is blue? Yeah. And isn't he the most handsome man in the world? Yeah, they fucking suck. Yeah, I hate them. Is he in the chamber?
No, I think we still have a minute or so.
Brilliant.
To go.
So imagine you're Kemi Badenoch.
No.
What have you had for breakfast today?
Wait, isn't she like the warm Diet Coke? Like,
she likes warm Diet Coke?
Yeah, room temperature Diet Coke is her thing.
I actually don't mind that.
You don't mind that?
I don't mind a room temperature. When I was still of this parish, I actually wouldn't mind when the Diet Cokes weren't in the fridge. I
don't like that. Did you get to drink Mexican Coke when you were in Mexico?
Drink it? Yeah. For sure. I was drinking it. No, yeah, I know. I had it. It tasted exactly the same.
Oh.
I was quite excited to try it.
Yeah, everyone made such a big deal about it. Donald Trump as well made a big deal about how they were gonna have like the Mexican recipe in the UK now, in the US.
But I think the actual only difference is between the US and the UK because it's something to do with the syrup.
It's the
cane
sugar is
Mexico and the US. I'm not sure it is that different. In the UK.
I have no idea, but in Mexico they use cane sugar that's the thing. I don't know what we have in the UK.
But no, and we were actually kind of sick of Mexican food by the end.
Really?
Yeah. It is like obviously great.
Yeah.
But it is not that diverse cuisine.
Do they not have Chinese restaurants around it that way?
Sean just asked if they have Chinese restaurants. I'm sure they do. Wouldn't frequent many. But like even like the regional variations are like it's like a corn tortilla base and beans and meat, or a different size of tortilla base and beans and meat. Like it's not actually that different.
I mean, they probably think that about the UK as well. It's like, oh, potato with meat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
in the UK, I'm not like eating like meat and 2 veg every night. I mean. Like, I vary my cuisine.
Yeah.
You know, making a slow-cooked chicken pesto pasta, of course. Or something foul.
Yeah.
Shall we go over?
Nah, this is good. Yeah. Let's cut to the gang.
Well-paid jobs in every quarter of the United Kingdom. On Monday, we announced the new V-level qualification to make sure every young person has the skills to realise their potential. On Tuesday, our first ever regional investment summit in Birmingham secured £10 billion in investment, and today we're announcing tough new penalties to end the scandal of pollution in our rivers and seas. Mr. Speaker, that's national renewal with a Labour government. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I met Claire Throssell, who is here with us in the gallery today. Her two young sons, Paul and Jack, were murdered 11 years ago this week by her abusive ex-husband after a family court ordered he should have unsupervised contact with them. Claire's bravery and her campaign is humbling, and today I'm pleased we can announce that we will repeal the presumption of parental involvement, putting children's safety first. This morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, Mr. Speaker, in addition to my duties in this House. I shall have further such meetings later today.
Dr. Ross-Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to associate myself with the Prime Minister's sympathies extended towards Claire and commend her on her bravery. Mr. Speaker, I regret to inform the House that yesterday there was a very, very serious breach of national security when my PMQ was photographed heading into number 10 through a transparent folder. However, the nation can rest easy. On this occasion, no state secrets were revealed. However, it does make me wonder whether this government can be trusted with a digital ID scheme that is mandatory in all but name. Can the Prime Minister... I'd like to keep the Prime Minister on his toes. Will the Prime Minister reverse this misguided scheme, or will he persist with a plan that makes all of our personal data vulnerable to hacks and attacks?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank you for her question. The whole point of digital ID, of course, is that you can't see it. So that should at least deal with the first of her concerns. Look, it is important that we make access to services, public services, as easy as possible for people. And we all know the difficulties that so many people have accessing services, and digital ID has been shown in other countries to help. I do think this is an important step forward. I also think it's very important as part of our plan to tackle those who are entering our country illegally.
Jane Kirkham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Households in Cornwall in temporary accommodation have increased by 265% in 5 years. So I'm delighted that this Labour government is investing £39 billion into social and affordable housing. In Cornwall, we're developing a strategy to provide housing at sites like Pydar in my constituency, which need support from Homes England. Will the Prime Minister arrange for us to meet the Housing Minister at our Homes Cornwall launch next month to accelerate discussions on a strategic partnership for Cornwall so we can build the right homes in the right places for local people?
Prime Minister.
Well, I know the Housing Minister would be delighted to meet my honourable friend to help unlock new homes for her constituents. We are working closely with local authorities through our small sites aggregator to build new affordable homes on brownfield sites. My goal, Mr. Speaker, is to restore the dream of home and ownership, which was stolen by the government, by the opposition when they were in government. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Beno.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, can I pay tribute to the former Conservative MP Oliver Colville, who has very sadly passed away after a long illness. Colleagues will remember him for his love of cricket and, of course, hedgehogs. He will be very much missed. Mr. Speaker, 4 victims on the Rape Gangs Survivors Panel have resigned. And they've resigned because they've lost all confidence in the government's inquiry. So I'm giving my first question to one of them, to Fiona. She said, being dismissed and contradicted by a minister when you're telling the truth takes you right back to that feeling of not being believed all over again. Fiona's question is simple. What's the point in speaking up if we're just going to be called liars?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising that on behalf of Fiona, and let me give Fiona and the House my answer, Mr. Speaker, because the grooming scandal was one of the worst scandals of our time. Women and girls were abused and exploited by predatory gangs of men, and survivors have been ignored for many years including by the state that, of course, is supposed to protect them. My vow to Fiona and them is that this national inquiry will change that. I do acknowledge that in recent days some members, including Fiona, have decided to step away from the panel. I say this, Mr. Speaker, should they wish to return, the door will always be open. But even if they do not, we owe it to them and to Fiona and to the country to answer the concerns that they have raised. The inquiry is not and will never be watered down. Its scope will not change. It will examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders, and we will find the right person to chair the inquiry. I can tell the House today, Mr. Speaker, that Dame Louise Casey will now support the work of the inquiry, and it will get to the truth. Injustice will have no place to hide.
Mr. Speaker, I doubt she'll be satisfied with that answer. He says that they could return to the panel if they wish to. Why would they do that? The government has been engaged in a briefing war against survivors. Elizabeth. Oh, really? They say shame? Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Why don't they listen to what Elizabeth had to say? Elizabeth, who was abused in Rotherham from the age of 14, had this to say, and I quote, "The government has created a toxic environment for survivors." They were looking for answers from the Prime Minister, and what they've heard is Labour MPs saying shame at their words. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Safeguarding Minister said Elizabeth was wrong. Who should we believe? The Prime Minister's Safeguarding Minister or Elizabeth?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me put on record my respect for all of the survivors who've been through the most awful ordeals. And I want to thank those that have been involved so far for the work in the process. What we're trying to do is to get this right and have an inquiry with survivors at the heart. As the Safeguarding Minister told the House yesterday, that's obviously not easy. They've all come with difficult experiences. There are a wide range of views, understandably, and every survivor does bring their own painful experience to this. The survivors met the prospective chairs this week, and we want to have them to have the chance to engage. I want survivors to be at the heart of this. I want an inquiry that can get to the truth. These are the hard yards, I accept that, but I want to press on and get this right.
Mr. Speaker, he says that he wants survivors to be at the heart of this, but in his first PMQs this year, he said we did not need a national inquiry. And when he did, all of these MPs cheered. They were nodding their heads, including the Safeguarding Minister. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They voted against the national inquiry. They voted against the national inquiry 3 times, so the victims don't believe them. They can say no as much as they like. It is on the record. They don't like it, but it's true. Now, one of the victims has quit. Contrary to what the Prime Minister's just said and what the Home Secretary wrote this morning, they believe that the inquiry will downplay the racial and religious motivations behind their abuse. Aren't the victims right when they call it a cover-up?
Prime Minister.
Well, let me reassure the victims and the House that the scope of the inquiry will not be diluted, and we won't shy away from cultural or religious issues. And, Mr. Speaker, it was me that commissioned Baroness Casey in the first place, who gave me her recommendation in relation to a national inquiry, and we have, in the 4 months since then, finalised the panel and trying to get the leadership of this inquiry right with survivors at the heart. Mr. Speaker, in that period, we have also reopened 1,200 historic closed cases. I have long argued, Mr. Speaker, that the criminal route where it can be pursued is the right route for perpetrators. We've introduced mandatory reporting of child sex abuse. I happen to think that is a vital safeguard. I've been campaigning for that for over a decade. I asked the last government to introduce it, and that fell on deaf ears. And that mandatory reporting of child sex abuse is something each and every one of them voted against earlier this year. And we've given victims and survivors the power to seek an independent review of their cases. But, Mr. Speaker, in relation to this inquiry, I want to go as fast as we can to get the justice that is deserved. I want to ensure survivors are involved in that. And we're balancing the two to get this right, and I'll continue to do so.
Mr. Speaker, he's talking about mandatory reporting. I will remind him what Fiona asked. What is the point if the victims aren't going to be believed? What would be the point of mandatory reporting? All of this is happening now. All he's saying is because 4 of those victims resigned from the survivors panel. If they hadn't done that, they would have continued with the watering down, which we all know that they were carrying out. So, yes, the victims are right to be worried. He also talked about looking for a chair. It has been 10 months since we first called for a national inquiry. 10 months. It is shocking that they still do not have a chair. One of the final 2 candidates, Mr. Speaker, has pulled out, leaving a former police officer that the victims don't want. What they do want is a judge. They deserve a judge. So, Mr. Speaker, we are talking now. We are talking about the industrial-scale rape of women and girls. Unlike most of the inquiries going on, why is it that this inquiry doesn't deserve a judge?
Prime Minister.
Can I answer that? It's a serious point, Mr. Speaker, because whether it should be judge-led was looked at by Louise Casey, and she decided against that for a reason, and her reasons were twofold. I'll spell them out. The first was the speed with which we could do this. And it would have been. They asked the question, and the first was the speed with which we could do this. The second is really important, and that is that at the same time as the inquiry, I was absolutely determined that criminal investigations would go on at the same time. One of the problems that judge-led inquiries run into, I've seen and experienced this myself, is that they're often held back until the end of the criminal investigations. And I was determined that we'd be able to run the two together. And it's because of that, Mr. Speaker, that we've been able to reopen 1,200 historic cases at the same time. And, Mr. Speaker, she asks, what's the point of mandatory reporting that she voted against? I don't think she understands how it works. This, Mr. Speaker, is mandatory reporting of those that have had allegations made to them, and there's clear enough evidence they've then not passed that on. That is a fundamental problem in the system. That is why we've changed the law. They should hang their heads in shame for having voted against that vital protection.
What he should hang his head in shame in is calling this a far-right bandwagon when we first raised this issue. The deputy leader, the future deputy leader, we all know who's going to win, called this a dog whistle. What we need to think about right now, Mr. Speaker, is the victims. It is the survivors. I spoke to one of them yesterday. Let's remember, these are victims who waived their anonymity, an incredibly difficult thing to do. And they believe that the safeguarding minister has lied to them and about them. One of the survivors has said, and I quote, "Jess Phillips needs to be removed because I don't think her conduct during this has been acceptable for the position that she holds." That is, those aren't my words. Those are the words of a survivor. It is a shame that Labour MPs are drowning that out. The member for Birmingham Yardley has clearly lost the confidence of the victims. Does she still have the confidence of the Prime Minister?
Can I just say, Prime Minister, even if we are quoting somebody else, we shouldn't quote it because it's a direct allegation against a member of this House. So I'm sure that that's not what was intended, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I respect the views of all the survivors, and there are different views. I accept that. But the safeguarding minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls. Alongside her will be Louise Casey. These two individuals, Mr. Speaker, have spent decades standing up for those who have been abused and sexually exploited. And I absolutely think they're the right people to take this forward.
Mr. Speaker, she doesn't have more experience than the survivors. The fact fact is, just a few weeks ago, he was standing there telling us he had full confidence in the best friend of a convicted paedophile. So it is no surprise that people have no confidence in what he is saying. The victims have said that she should be sacked. We on this side of the House believe that she should be sacked because this is about Labour failure. Labour never wanted this inquiry. We demanded it. It has been Labour-run councils, Trafford, Bradford, Blackpool, that tried to suppress the truth. It is Labour ministers attacking the victims. We're standing up for them. And how is it, Mr. Speaker, how is it that whether it is rape or Chinese espionage, when he's in a position to do something about it, it's always someone else's fault?
Mr. Speaker, my priorities are listening to and standing up for the survivors. That's why we're doing the work on the inquiry. That's why we've reopened the criminal cases, why we brought in mandatory reporting. But I would gently remind them they had 14 years in office. They barely mentioned this issue. And where there were inquiries, they failed to act on them. We have done more in the time we've been in office than they did in 14 long years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mental ill health affects 1 in 4 of us. It costs this country up to £300 billion a year. Prime Minister, join me in thanking the staff.
Is that us?
Yeah.
Okay, grand. That was quite distasteful.
I felt so as well. I felt quite icky watching that, actually.
It's absolutely appropriate to ask these questions at Prime Minister's questions. It's one of the biggest national scandal, and it's absolutely the place of the leader of opposition to present issues like these to the Prime Minister. But I thought that was the attempt to score points was gross. Even when Starmer, the question about why isn't a judge-led inquiry, as Starmer gave certainly a considered answer. I don't know enough around judge-led inquiries to kind of evaluate it so quickly, but he gave a reasoned answer, and he made the point that it was Baroness Lee Casey's decision. That was immediately shouted down. A discussion like that should be constructive and not point scoring. And even then at the end, like Starmer was doing it himself, was trying to be like, we listen, they do this, they voted against it. This knocks me a bit sick, to be honest.
Yeah, that didn't feel like it was about ensuring that this inquiry led to justice for survivors.
No.
It felt like it was about, as you said, political point scoring. And I mean, I think we heard a Labour MP say that Kemi Badenoch's questions were disgraceful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe should we dig into a bit of the context about what they were talking about?
Yeah. So 4 survivors of the grooming gangs suffered abuse have quit in protest because they are concerned that the inquiry will not address cultural and racial context.
There's a couple other concerns as well. They were a bit concerned about the scope of the inquiry, so they were concerned that it would look beyond grooming gangs and into child sexual abuse and exploitation a bit wider. They were also concerned slightly by the potential chairs, because they're looking at currently a police officer or until she resigned from the panel, or until she resigned from the inquiry, a social worker. But some of the survivors feel like it shouldn't be led by the people in the services that they felt failed them.
Because they would have a vested interest. So 4 people have resigned and have some criticised Jess Phillips, the Minister for Safeguarding's behaviour. And there's been some contention over what they're saying is true.
Yeah,
That's
so
what the heart of it is.
We heard Kemi Badenoch accuse the Labour government of calling these girls liars. I think what she was referring to there was that Jess Phillips came out. I think she was actually on a Home Office Affairs Selects Committee and said it was misinformation and untrue that they were going to expand the scope of this inquiry beyond grooming gangs. So I assume that's what the liar allegation was about. We did also see Keir Starmer there echo what Shabana Mahmood wrote in The Times and GB News overnight, which was, she wrote, the inquiry will explicitly examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders because we must acknowledge who they were. The inquiry is not and will never be watered down on my watch. Its scope will not change. And that's what we saw Keir Starmer say in reply to Kemi Badenoch there. It's
perfectly legitimate for these victims to have concerns about this. I think that's totally fair enough. If this will be, you've experienced the worst thing in the world, and you are concerned about how that will be investigated. A total sympathy for that. The government or the relevant ministers saying, no, it's going to be what you want it to be. That's what she said, and Kemi Badenoch has attempted to turn it into something that it is not. Has attempted to win a political point by attacking like quite an easy target. I think Jess Phillips gets attacked by Conservatives quite often, and trying to ramp up the temperature. And I think maybe the language Jess Phillips used is unfortunate by saying it is misinformation, because misinformation is quite a loaded term. We shouldn't say they were lying. We should call them liars. That's like what the allegation was. And Shabana Mahmood has done the exact same thing, or trying to almost like calm the fears. And the problem is, the inquiry doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And that's the context, is they don't have a chair. This would be a much more appropriate discussion to have if the inquiry fails.
Yeah.
You're making political hay about something that doesn't yet exist. It's like it can be all things to all people. It would be just as inappropriate for a Labour MP to stand up and say, does the Prime Minister agree that the national inquiry is absolutely perfect? It's a non-entity that they're trying to, about such a serious, emotive, scandalous subject, that they are just trying to make political hay over.
Exactly. And as you said, it would have been totally fair and legitimate for Kemi Badenoch to bring forward these concerns and say, can you assure us that the scope won't go beyond grooming gangs, and for, the Labour government to come back and say, yes, we can assure that it will just focus on grooming gangs, but to turn it into like a political football, point scoring, finger blaming, well, you voted against this, you voted against that, and also for the Conservatives to try and take some sort of moral high ground on this. Like, we are the party of protecting women and girls, and Labour are not, which is what Kemi Badenoch was trying to frame it as, whereas I actually think both parties have had quite significant failings when it comes to women and girls. I mean, we saw the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, which took place under the last Conservative government, and that inquiry did have a wide-ranging scope, but loads of the recommendations were just not implemented, which I think Kemi Badenoch brought up there, that Labour were initially against this, having a statutory inquiry into just grooming gangs. Whether that's right or wrong, one of their arguments was, well, we haven't actually even implemented the recommendations from the last independent inquiry, so are we just going to keep having inquiries and never actually implement any of the recommendations that come from them?
You made the point when we were watching it that Kemi Badenoch was the Minister for Women and Equalities and didn't mention grooming gangs in Parliament until Elon Musk started tweeting about it.
Yeah.
Which was how much and it's just completely disingenuous to paint yourself as this kind of crusader for justice when she's evidently not. And as it's completely fair enough to talk about this, obviously, but to present yourself as like the arbiter of justice and these women's dedicated champion when you're just not is bollocks. Yeah,
I think it is. This wasn't an issue in Parliament, or wasn't being mentioned in Parliament until, like, we saw Elon Musk started bringing it up on Twitter at the beginning of the year, and that's when it became essentially a way for the Conservatives to pick up this issue as a political football, rather than with any sort of real, it feels like a real sense of justice for these girls. It just felt like, well, this is really big on Twitter, this is a way of point scoring.
It's inauthentic. It's absolutely inauthentic.
Yeah, and especially when you had Chris Philp there behind, like, shaking his head. He was the Justice Secretary, wasn't he?
He sucks. He's just like a pantomime villain.
Yeah.
He just looks like, I don't know. He's got a dickhead face. I can say that. I don't work here anymore.
Political insight.
Yeah, absolutely. And also being like, I knew you called us all far right, by the way. That's so, like, that isn't the issue at that. Like, I swear someone demanded that they get apologised to. Do you remember that? I swear someone in the Tory party at Parents Questions was like, about the grooming, like, we need an apology.
Like they're the victims.
Oh, it just knocks me it's so frustrating to watch, and I guess that is. I'm not surprised. I'm sure it would happen the other way around. It's just so unconstructive.
Yeah, I mean, is for the Conservatives tearing this inquiry apart that.
Yeah, they're eliminating confidence in it already.
Exactly. Like, how is it getting justice to tear apart this inquiry rather than to have, these are the concerns, can you address these concerns? Can you assure the survivors that they are being listened to on this? And working together with Labour to ensure that this inquiry does deliver justice, rather than what we just saw at Prime Minister's questions, which was to rip it to shreds and ensure that there's no confidence in it whatsoever.
There was also quite an unpleasant line Kevin Badenoch said about... Starmer said that Jess Phillips is the biggest expert on these issues in this House, and that she said, well, she's not big an expert as
the survivors.
As if...
I was one up.
Yeah, as if you have to, like... I don't know, it's just such a gross comparison to suggest you have to suffer that to have been anyway appropriate for you to work on those issues. I know, I found it quite an unpleasant thing to say. The whole thing... I can't really say more about it than just it was gross and unpleasant, and I don't know, but it's not surprising because that's just Kevin Badenoch's approach to Prime Minister's questions, is just bandwagoning and picking up, just being quite unpleasant at it.
I think so too, but I have a feeling like, and I wonder if you agree, Conservatives might think this was 3 for 3 good Kemi questions, because people are viewing her. I think it was 2 weeks ago she did Peter Mandelson questions. Last week, which she brought up again during that questioning. But so 2 weeks ago it was Peter Mandelson. Last week it was the Chinese spy and security, and this week it's this line of questioning over the Grooming Gangs Inquiry. And I think that Conservatives might think that those are the three strongest performances Kemi Badenoch's given at Prime Minister's questions. Topics,
for sure. I didn't actually watch the last two because I was in Mexico. And it would have been 5 o'clock in the morning for me. And that's the only reason, of course, I'd watched otherwise. I think topic-wise, yeah, but I actually thought her performance there was quite all over the place. She kind of went round the houses and then randomly linking the Chinese spy stuff as if, like, I think they are obviously two tremendous issues. Quite different, and I don't. What one is handling them together. I thought was just distasteful. I don't think she comes across particularly well in any of this, and I'm actually not convinced like anyone's going to watch this and be like, oh yeah, actually Kemi Badenoch rules. I love the Conservatives again. It's just I think watching Kemi Badenoch at all or the Conservatives at all is. I do kind of feel, why just give up?
I think, I'm not sure if they have any questions, but I think Reform MPs will pick up on that same line of questioning that Kemi Badenoch had, if any of them are given a question. And I think as well, does Stephen Flynn have a question? Because I feel like he would go after the Prince Andrew line of questioning, which I think was the other thing that was kind of being touted as Kemi Badenoch might go after that today.
Yes. Did you enjoy the Lib Dem MP's question at the beginning?
Yeah.
It's a bit of standard, something lighter.
Yeah.
I feel there's been we had a nice time at the beginning of this stream. Dark middle.
Yeah.
We could finish on a high by discussing the Lib Dem MP's stand-up performance.
I felt like she was pausing for laughs and there wasn't
a laugh. It was actually quite painful. And it was quite a hard rhetorical pivot. To be like, how can we trust you with digital ID? Which was a bit of a laugh. Was she the MP whose question was at the top?
Yeah.
That's a laugh, isn't it? Did she change it?
Yes, she did.
That's good.
Yeah, she's 180 pivot.
That's quite funny. They'd be like, you get caught for doing something, and they're like, oh no, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't give them advance notice. Do you want to say what your friends were saying about the digital ID and why they support that?
I was asking my friends, like, what do you think about the digital ID? Because, in all honesty, I'm not 100% sure of what I think about it either. So I was doing some surveying of my friends, and they were all like, yeah, I don't really understand why it's such a controversy. Like, I always forget my, like, driving license on a night out, and it'd be quite nice to have my ID on my phone.
It does sound like a them problem.
It was multiple of them.
Yeah, no, but them plural. I wasn't being gender neutral. I was being... I've met your friends, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is quite funny. If they can... I tell you what, a few TikToks from Starmer
Yeah.
about digital ID
Yeah.
and your friends' votes will be sewn up.
I know. Have they
For
considered
sure.
saying this in Parliament?
Who's the young Sam Carling?
Yeah.
At the dispatch box talking about going on a wicked night out to Infernos. Do you think he's been on a night out?
Has Sam Carling... How old is he now? 23?
25? 26?
I'd hope he had.
Should we invite him on one? Sam,
So this is your open invite.
to come to the pub with us at some point.
And you can test your digital ID on the door.
And we won't make fun of you that much. Should we call it there? Do you want to go back in at any point?
I'm happy to call it if like Reform and Flynn and stuff don't have questions.
Big if.
I saw Richard Tice bobbing.
Oh, but he's just bobbing.
Just bobbing?
Might not get
well,
picked.
I'm happy to call it.
Yeah.
Happy to call it? You happy to call it, guys?
Yeah.
This is a democracy here with our hundreds of people. Hundreds of people shouted yes there, our hundreds of crew. Thank you everyone for watching. I enjoyed that. That was good.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I didn't really enjoy watching the Kenny Gear
but I
bit, but I
enjoyed-
enjoyed talking to you.
I enjoyed
so.
talking to you, Laura, as always. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back in some configuration tomorrow.